so that at least people who have not been attending, at least they will have some clue of what
Yes.
is going on.
We live.
Yeah. Still a minute. Thank you, Jay. Oh, wow. The birds are having some general body meeting.
Yeah, that's from my side.
Okay.
Arey.
Then
I'll put it on mute.
Rakesh will mute.
Singing as
I
a
didn't
welcome.
complete a freeze.
Rakesh will mute everyone.
You can jump.
All right. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Mind stopped is God. Mind working is man. Mind working fast is mad. Mind slowed down is must. Meher Baba. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Thank you to beloved Baba for allowing us to meet again live, as we say. And I would also like to thank all of you who have been so understanding, first in not calling so often and finding out how we were doing, and also those who have been so overwhelmingly loving in the sense of supplying us with supplements, with medicines, with food baskets and fruits and stuff like that. We both are deeply indebted to all of you for your love and concern. All right. We are once again starting the reading of one of the most unique books, I say, in the universe, because it is written by God Himself in His own handwriting, explaining the deeper aspects of spirituality. We talk about spirituality like putting a tikka or lagaving ghanta or going to the temples and the mosques and stuff like that. But Baba is here focusing on the mind. Like how I started with the prayer, the mind stopped is God. What is the mind? The mind is nothing but a container which has all our karmas, samskaras, impressions, desires, cravings, longings. And when the mind stops, that means when it is emptied of all these things, what you experience is Godhood. You become God. So mind stopped is God. Mind working is man, all of us. The mind is working. We are supposedly in the awake state. We are experiencing the false I and egoism and experiencing the body and the universe, which Baba says are nothing but illusion. Mind working fast is mad. So it's everything is focused on the mind. If your mind works too fast, there's a tendency for you to go mad, lunatic. And mind slowed down is must. Must means those who are intoxicated with their love for God and their mind has slowed down. So it is through the process of mind working, mind gradually slowing down, and then finally mind being annihilated. That is the process. So far, what we have done, I'll just try to briefly sum up, and I try not to use certain jargons like natural light, natural darkness. I'll try, but it will come out. I know that. Where Baba talks about number one as the self, which is the same as the real I, which is the same as God, which is the same as knowledge, which is the same as real intelligence, which is the same as sound sleep in awake state. We'll come to that. What does it mean? It means, and that I is in every aspect of our being, and at the same time, it is aloof from everyone and everything. The first, which Baba nomenclates as natural light. Okay. Then Baba talks about the existence of natural light. That means what gives existence to natural light. Baba talks about the spirit, which is everywhere and in everything. Then Baba talks about darkness. The Baba talks about the nothingness. And then Baba talks about Kura. And he talks about sound sleep state, which means the ordinary sound sleep state, and Baba puts a stamp over it as natural darkness. So now we have natural light and natural darkness, and they go hand in hand. Then we have unnatural darkness. What is that? Baba calls it a working mind, or the false I, or egoism, which is limited in everybody. Then Baba talks about the dream and the awake state. When the mind is working, right now it is working. I am supposedly, we all are supposedly in the awake state. When Baba says this is the false awake state. And when we go back to sleep, we will dream. That also is the working mind. But that is the false dream or a dream within a dream. Then about unnatural darkness, Baba talks about imagination. He talks about ignorance. He talks about sound. He talks about banda or a slave. So here now we have a other category which is called unnatural darkness. And through unnatural darkness, Baba says that you have unnatural light, which means what? The body and the universe, the Maya, the illusion, which is nothing but the reflection or the shadow of God or Paramatma. In other words, there is God or the real I, there is the spirit, there is a working mind, and there is a body and the universe. That is how it goes. Then Baba says, so now it is, and only the experience of the body and the universe will be there when the mind is working. When the mind is not working, then what happens? We go into sleep. The mind merges with the spirit, we go into sleep, and we experience nothing, absolutely nothing. And again, when we wake up from the nothing to the dream state and to the what is called false awake state, we experience the body and the universe. So in short, it is now established that the universe and the body has come out of nothingness. It is only when the mind starts working we experience the universe and the body. So and that means it has come out of nothingness. So that which comes out of nothingness can be nothing but the nothing. In other words, Baba would say that this entire gamut, which we call universe, is a nothing into nothing, or a dream within a dream. It has no astitva of its own. It is only when the mind is functioning, that means the nothingness, it comes out of nothingness, and therefore it is nothing. Then Baba goes on to say that this, what we call as the real self, is in the spirit, is in the mind, is in the body and universe, and is also beyond all these things, aloof from all these things. And that is the beautiful, the poem, if you may, Ek Ram Dasrat Gar Dole, Ek Ram Ghat Ghat mein bole, Ek Ram ka sakal pasara, Ek Ram Tribhuvan se nyara. Dasrat Ghar Dole means Ek Ram is in individual's body. One Ram is in the mind. One Ram ka Sakala Pasara. Sakala Pasara means that same Ram is in the spirit, which is everywhere. And Ek Ram Tribhuvan se nyara. Tribhuvan means the three bhuvans, or the three spheres, or the three worlds, the gross, subtle, and the mental. And it is beyond Kabir ka. Correct, Kabir ka. All right, Kabir ka. All right. Now, how it goes about is that the self, through the spirit, try to be with me. And if there is any, doubt as to not being able to understand, you can always raise your digital hand, and Rakesh will open the speaker for you, the mic for you, so you can ask. The same self, which is I, real I, which is God, through the spirit sees the mind, and through the mind experiences the body and the universe. In other words, God experiences through our mind the body and the universe. In short. Okay. In other words, as the self will experience or God will experience, or the real I will experience, as long as there is mind and the body. The moment the mind and the body are not there, its experiences will be stopped. In other words, in the sound sleep state, there is nothing but nothingness. That means there is no experience whatsoever. Right. Then Baba goes on to say that in the sound sleep state, the spirit sees the self. I'll repeat again. First, there is self. Let us try to understand self, spirit, mind, body, and universe. So, in the sound sleep state, the spirit sees the self, and the same spirit becomes the mind in the awake state. I'll repeat. In the sound sleep state, the spirit sees the self or the real I or God, whatever you call it, and the same spirit becomes the mind in the awake state and experiences the body and the universe. So that spirit is the most important link between the self and the mind and the body. Then Baba goes on to say, in the sound sleep state, the mind is merged in the spirit. The mind is merged in the spirit in the sound sleep state, and so does not experience the body and all the experiences of the universe. But now this is important. But if in, I repeat, but if in the awake state, if the mind is merged in the spirit, then the body and the universe exist. I am awake. Body is there, universe is there, because I'm in the awake state. But if in this awake state, if the mind merges with the spirit, then the mind will not exist because it is already merged, become one with the spirit. It has transformed itself into the spirit. The mind will not be there, but the universe and the body would be there. That is God realization. I'll repeat this. When every single day the mind merges with the spirit, it is not God realization because we become unconscious, because we are in a sleep state. But if in the awake state, the mind becomes the spirit or merges with the spirit, links with the, joins with the spirit and becomes one with the spirit in the awake state, then that is God realization. Right? And since the spirit is seeing the self or God all the time, now because the mind has become the spirit, the mind is able to see God all the time and it declares Anal Haq or I am God. Right? Now, here Baba is, let's be a little focused. Baba is not using the word real I, which of course later on he uses in his literature. Here in this text, Baba is using the false limited I, which is what we are experiencing now, and the false unlimited I. He's using those terminologies. So here, for the limited false I to become the unlimited false I, it has to pass through 7 planes or 7 worlds, right? And then that is how, when it passes through the 7 planes, it experiences the divine dream. So, in other words, I'll come to that a little later. The sound sleep state is such an important state that while we, after waking up from the sound sleep state, go down towards the body and the universe, those who are on the spiritual planes, advanced spiritual aspirants, they also go into the sound sleep state, but they awaken into the divine dream state in order to reach the self. We'll come to that a bit later. So here, for the false I to become the real I, or in Baba's terminology as of now, as in this book, the false limited false I or the false limited I, in order to become unlimited false I has to pass through the 7 layers, which are known as the planes of consciousness, which is very difficult to pass through. And Baba uses the word it has to be passed through very deep, focused concentration. And there is a tendency to get stuck into the allurements of these planes of consciousness. There are so many sights, so many scenes, so many sounds, so many aromas, so many powers that the adept or the aspirant tends to stick to that and does not move forward. And therefore, the help and the assistance of a living perfect master or the avatar, who's the eternal living perfect master, is absolutely essential. Then Baba goes on to say that, okay, all right. Baba so goes on to say that if the perfect master is actively concerned in your well-being, these are my words, and as I said, every time these are my interpretations, so that we are able to understand the whole subject much easily. When the master takes interest in the aspirant, then he can make that aspirant reach the goal in a jiffy, in a split second. It can reach the goal, and the person who has reached may not even be aware how quickly and how easily he has reached the goal. But when that false unlimited I has to become the false limited I, that means they have to come back for duty. They have to be salics, or that, in other words, they have to regain the body and get back the limited mind again. At that time, it passes through all these planes, and then it realizes, wow, 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 I've covered all these things without knowing it, without realizing it. And that is why Baba says that I take my circle members through the planes blindfolded. Why blindfolded? So that they do not experience all the sights and sounds and pleasures and heavens and all kinds of riddhi-siddhi powers of these planes. As a result, they don't get stuck because the master is there. That is, yeah, I was coming to that. That is called the Turiya Avastha. They are returning, and that is called the Turiya Avastha, or the divine dream state. All right. Then Baba goes on to say that there are 5 states. You want to say something? No, that doesn't matter. Thank you, Ravi. There are 5 states. Now just be with me in numbers. Number 1, ordinary awake state, like just now what we are in. Number 2, ordinary dream state. That means when I have to go from my awake state to the sound sleep state, I must necessarily pass through the ordinary dream state. Number 3 is the ordinary sound sleep state. I'll repeat. Number 1, awake state, which is ordinary awake state or false awake state. Number 2, ordinary dream state. Number 3, ordinary sound sleep state. Okay, so much, so much. Number 4 is the divine dream. That means the 7 planes of consciousness. And number 5 is the real awake state. And in this real awake state, there is an experience of sound sleep state in the awake state. Now, this is a little difficult for us to understand. How can it be sound sleep and yet awake? But that is what Baba says. So the ordinary sound sleep state is in the center, number 3. What we do is go from 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Whereas those who are on the planes, when they awaken from the ordinary sleep state, they go upwards into the 4th category of state, which is the divine dream state or the Turiya Avastha, in order to reach the final awakened state. Now here Baba says, okay, again we had done up to here, that when the pulling of the awake state is more than the pulling of the dream state. In other words, sorry, not dream state, sound sleep state. In other words, if the pull of the sound sleep state is less and the pull of the awake state is more, then we remain in the dream state for more time and the dream is remembered. I will repeat. There are three states: awake, dream, sound sleep. If the pull of the awake state is more and the pull of the sleep state is less, then we remain in the dream state for a longer period and we tend to remember the dream. That is what Baba says. Now, again, conversely, if the pulling of the sleep state is more and the pulling of the awake state is less, then it remains in the dream state less. Immediately you get into the sound sleep state and does not even remember that it had certain dreams. Dreams are not remembered. Why? Because the pull of the sleep state, sound sleep state, is much greater than the pull of the awake state. But Baba says, although before acquiring the sound sleep state, it must necessarily pass through the dream state. So all of us are going like that seesaw: awake, dream, sleep, sleep, dream, awake. Depending upon which pull is greater, you will remember the dream or you will not remember the dream based on how long we are going to stay in the dream state. If the dream state is more, then we tend to remember. If the dream state is less, then we tend to forget or not even realize that we have gone through the dream. Sorry. Then Baba goes on to say that if the pull of the awake state is continual, it is not letting go its grip, then that particular soul remains throughout in the dream state and does not enter the sound sleep state and awakens from the dream state itself. That means only awake and dream, dream and awake and dream, dream and awake. It does not go into the sound sleep state. And here Baba says, this is the case of the yogis who are stuck on the plains. That means instead of going into the real sound sleep state, which means the real awakening state, they are unable to move towards that state and they keep on toggling between the divine dream state and the awake state. And that is perhaps the reason why Baba has never ever recommended the yogic path, because Baba says it's a very difficult path and there is a tendency of getting stuck in that, a very heavy tendency of getting stuck in that. And Baba also said that when the yogi goes through a certain path, through the backside, they say Kundalini, Jagrati, and all that. I don't understand any of these things. There is an unleashing of power. There's a lot of power which will get unleashed, released. And if you do not have a master, and by that I would think a perfect master who is constantly monitoring your progress, there is every possibility that that power can destroy you because you can use those powers in a very irresponsible manner. And therefore, Baba has never recommended that path. His path is very simple: path of love, path of remembrance, is a path of constant companionship. That's about all. As simple as that. Nothing beyond. Atkela. These are words. Yogi Atkela. The word Atkela means stuck up. So I'm not going by the book now. I've just got a gist of what I thought. I'll just wrap it up so that we know where we stand now and then we move on from there. Okay. Good. Now, another thing Baba says, whilst returning from sound sleep state to the awakening state, that is going into the sun. Now we are returning. Every day we sleep and every day we wake up. Baba says it has to once again pass through the dream state. That's what I said, the dream state, howsoever small it may be in period of time, you need to pass through that tunnel of the dream state. If at that time the pulling of the sound sleep is more, when you are waking up from your sound sleep state, you have to necessarily pass through the dream state in order to come to the awake state. But if the pulling of the sound sleep state is more, it remains in the dream state longer and so remember the dream. In other words, on the return journey, that is from the sound sleep to the awake state, you have to pass through the dream state. And if the pull of the sound sleep state is more, then you remain in the dream state for a longer time and you remember the dream. And if the pulling of the awakening state is more and the sleep state is less, it does not remain long in the dream state, and so it doesn't remember those dream states. In other words, sometimes you may experience that you are sleeping soundly and all of a sudden there is a noise and you wake up. That means the pull of the awake state is much more than the pull of the sleep state, and therefore you awaken all of a sudden with a start. And although you may pass through split second through that dream state, you remain very little time in the dream state and you do not remember the dream. Okay. And then Baba says, now about the saints. This is up to which I think we have done. If there is something left out, I may have left out the nitty gritty, the barik things of all these things. So anyway, we'll look into it. Now about the saint's mind, Baba says. What about the saint? And Baba says, when Baba talks about saint, he's not using the terminology as he uses in God Speaks or other books later on. Here, what he means is the aspirant, the one who is Rairao, the one who is a wayfarer, the one who has embarked upon the involutionary journey, the inner spiritual path. So Baba says now about the saint's mind. It passes upward from the sound sleep state. I told you from the sound sleep state, which is point number three. Two is the ordinary dream. One is the awake state, ordinary awake state or the false awake state. So the saints, sorry, the saint passes from 3 to 4 and then to 5. Now about the saint's mind. It passes upward from the sound sleep state to the real awakening and not downward to the false awakening. False awakening is number one. False dreaming is number two. Sound sleep is number three. Divine dream is number four. And real awakening is number five. That we have done it on some page over there. 29. So 29. Okay. It doesn't go downwards to the false awake state, but it moves upwards. It too has to pass through the dream state. It too has to pass through the dream state. But what is that dream? That is the divine dream state or the Turiya Avastha, which is at point 4, being between the two sound sleep states. There are two sound sleep states, 3 and 5. In 3, which is ordinary sound sleep state, where we lose our consciousness and we are in a state of khuda, as we say, nothingness. But 5 is also a sound sleep state, but that is sound sleep in awake state. Sound sleep in awake state means in this awake state, the mind has merged into the spirit. In this awake state, the body and the universe is existing, but the mind is not existing, and that is realization. That is the divine awakening. Yeah, that is God realization. That is realization. So far, I have made this many notes. If anybody has any questions, you can ask, because Soumya said I did not do that Gujarati part which we will do just now. Anybody has any questions? Or I know we are revising everything, so maybe anybody has anything to ask. All you have to do is do your homework because since you all have the books, or most of you have the books, you can always reread it, and if there is any explanation required, I will always be happy to give that. So nothing, right? So now Soumya will read that Gujarati part, whatever Soumya, and I will try to explain that. Just say the page number and all.
The page number is 34. 34.
Of the book. Which book are we talking about?
Baba's page number 34.
Baba's handwritten page number 34. And the big book page is 88. The big book where the explanation is given. Okay. 34 and page number 88. If you want, if somebody can put the page, it's fine. Otherwise, don't bother. Either put 34 or put the 88 of the big book.
I processથી impossible જેવું છે જો કે એકાદા બન્યા છે અને તે લોકો મંઝિલ દર મંઝિલ બનાવનારા સાલિક ગણાય છે પણ એ એક સેકન્ડમાં બનાવનારા સદગુરુ ગણાતા નથી.
Now see, it is all cancelled out and you can't really read. So here that's the page. Thank you, Rakesh. The loose translation of that is, by this process, that means people who are going on their own, venturing on their own, it is almost impossible to be realized. And Baba, time and time again, have been giving the importance of the presence of a living perfect master or the avatar who's the eternal living perfect master in order to finally reach the goal. It's impossible to reach the goal. So by this process, Baba says, it is impossible to become realized. Nevertheless, some rare ones have become so, and such persons could be considered to be saliks who can make others proceed from one plane into the next. Now, here again, the thought, I think what Baba is trying to express is that saliks, there's a difference between salik and sadguru. Sadguru can make others perfect. Sadgurus can make others become realized God. But Baba says that there are saliks who can help others in the spiritual progress from one plane to the other. But they are not the ones who, like Sadguru, who can make somebody reach the goal in a split moment, in a split second. So here it says, who can make others proceed from one plane into the next, but these saliks cannot be counted amongst the Sadgurus who can make others perfect in a second. So that was the place where we had left. But as I always keep repeating, that this was written by Baba sometime in 1925, and then the thoughts also evolved. Even God's thoughts evolved in a sense, where He has said that whatever He has given in God's speech is like, this is the final word so far as spirituality is concerned. Okay. So now we are on page number 35. Can you read Gujarati or
હમણાં જ
no, 35? Yeah.
હમણાં જ તમે લ્યો રિયલાઇઝેશન એટલે શું? હમણાં તમે એટલે મન, માઇન્ડ, શરીર, બોડી અને દુનિયા, વર્લ્ડ ને જુઓ છો.
Now let us consider here what is meant by God realization. This is all written in Gujarati. Right now, you, when Baba says you, he's talking about the mind. That is, the mind are seeing the body and the world. Everything we do because the mind is functioning. The moment the mind is not functioning, the world and the body disappears. When you become unconscious, what happens? There is not necessarily in sound state, with some other external means. When you become unconscious, the body and the universe does not exist for you. So Baba says, now you, that is the mind, are seeing the body and the world. Now,
હવે એ જ જાગતી હાલતમાં તમે આંખ બંધ કરી મનને એકત્ર કરાવીને કોશિશ કરો એટલે શરીર અને દુનિયા તરફથી મનને હટાવીને એક જ ડિવાઇન સબ્જેક્ટમાં મનને ગુતાવો.
Now Baba says that in this awake state, close your eyes, and says try to concentrate the mind by shifting the focus of your mind from your body and the world and engaging it in one divine subject. In other words, you are withdrawing the focus of your mind from the body and the universe and focusing it now on one single divine subject.
જ્યારે એક જ ડિવાઇન સબ્જેક્ટ મનને ગુતાવે છે તો નંબર 3 થી 5 ની સ્ટાર્ટ ગણાય.
In other words, what Baba is trying to say is, see, it is not something that you close your eyes for 10 minutes and all that. What Baba is trying to say is that on an ongoing basis, your focus is now not on the body and the universe, but it is on a divine subject. So if you do that, that's what Baba says. When a single divine subject thus engages the mind, the engages the mind means ongoingly, you see. This can be considered as the start in the progress from number 3 to number 5. We have seen number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll repeat. 1 is the false awake state or ordinary awake state. 2 is the ordinary dream state. 3 is the ordinary sound sleep state. 4 is the divine dream state. And 5 is the real awakened state. So if you are able to do that, withdraw the consciousness of the mind from the body and the universe and focus on a divine subject, then you have started moving from 3 to 5 instead of going from 3 to 1. Normally what we do, as I said, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Here you have started going now from 3 to 5. That means via the divine dream, you are going to reach the real awakened state.
હવે સ્ટાર્ટ થયું કે પ્લેન્સ દેખાય છે. તમારું શરીર અને દુનિયા તો છે એટલે તમે જાગો છે, પણ મન, શરીર તથા દુનિયાને જોતું નથી એટલે સાઉન્ડ સ્લીપ. તેથી સાઉન્ડ સ્લીપ થી શરૂઆત થયેલી ગણાય.
Baba is giving importance to the sound sleep state, which is a sort of a fulcrum for whether you awaken in the false awake state as we do, or you awaken in the real awake state, divine awake state, which is God realization. So here Baba says, your body and the world are still there. Obviously, the body is there, the world is there, which means that you are awake, because you have to reach the real sound sleep state, which is state 5, in the awake state. That means the body and the universe should be there, but the mind should not be there. The mind should be withdrawn into a single divine subject and then merged into the spirit. So here Baba says, your body and the world are still there, which means that you are awake. But the mind does not see the body and the world. Mind does not see the body and the world means the mind is now not focused on the body and the world. That is exactly the state of the must. The must is having a state of mind where they are thoroughly unconscious of their body and the surrounding. So actually the process of working mind and stopped mind is through the process of mind gradually slowing down. And mind slows down when the focus is withdrawn from the body and the world or universe into a divine subject. So here Baba says your body and the world are still there, which means that you are awake. But the mind does not see the body and the world. The mind is now not focusing on the universe, on the world, which means a state resembling the sound sleep state. In other words, when the mind is not focusing on the body and the world, it resembles to a certain extent a sound sleep state, but you are not fully awakened in that sound sleep state. That happens only at the fag end of the journey. Point number 5, Baba talks in the chart. Only when all the samskaras, all the impressions, all the garbage, all the cravings, all the longings, all the desires are nullified. That is when we call manonash or annihilation of the mind. And at that moment, the mind is not there, the body and the universe is there. The body, my mind has become the spirit, and the spirit sees God, and the mind shouts, Analhat Soham, Aham Brahmasmi. That means the mind recognizes that I am one with God. I am God. Good.
હવે જેમ જેમ તમારા મનને વધારે કોન્સન્ટ્રેટ કરશો તેમ તેમ બધા પ્લેન્સ દેખાવ એ જાગતી હાલતમાં ડ્રીમ ઇઝ ઇક્વલ ટુ તુરિયા અને છેલ્લા મન સ્ટોપ થયું કે જાગતી હાલતમાં નિદ્રા કારણ તમારું શરીર અને દુનિયા તો છે પણ મન ત્યાં નથી.
Yeah, one sentence, although you said it, I have not emphasized that. Hence, Baba says, sound sleep state could be reckoned as the starting point. The sound sleep state, which starts from nothing. From that nothing, you either create this everything, which is a dream, the body and the universe, or you merge with that everything, which is the reality or the truth or the real I or God. So sound sleep state is the a very pertinent and important state of consciousness. So Baba says, hence, sound sleep could be reckoned as the starting point. Now, as you can concentrate the mind more and more, gradually and progressively, all the planes become visible. The planes of consciousness are 1, 2, and 3, purely in the subtle world, which is known as the Sukshma Bhumika, the subtle world, subtle sphere, where you have the access to a lot of powers. Then the fourth is like the go between the threshold between the subtle and the mental world, and where you have got absolute powers, where you can even create new universes, you can create new life, you can give life to a dead person, to a dead human being. Then you move on to the fifth and the sixth, which are in the domain of the mental world, the manobhumika, the man, and there also there is a division. The fifth pertains to the thinking process, the rationale, the idea, the thoughts, and all that. And the sixth pertain to the feelings, right? And then, of course, the seventh, which is the reality, the state of Advait. This is what Baba says, that as you concentrate more and more, gradually and progressively, all the planes become visible. And this is the dream in awake state, which is known as the Turiya Avastha. Somewhere else, Baba even talks about the divine dream state. And at the end, the stopping of the mind finally means the sound sleep in awake state, because your because your body and the world are there, but the mind is not there. In other words, the goal is to remain in the awake state and not have the mind focused on the body and the universe. So gradually, when there is no mind, manonash, total, completely annihilation of the mind, that is the meaning of God realization. Go ahead.
Page 36.
Page number 36.
એટલે
Mean. Getle means means. This means.
mind's concentration is equal to sound sleep. Number 2. Mind's advancement is equal to dream. Number 4.
Which means the real dream, the divine dream. Yeah, go ahead.
Mind's stopping is equal to awakening. Number 5.
See, now Baba has shifted the focus on that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3 is over now. Now the person is going between 3, 4, and 5. So here Baba says, mind concentration means sound sleep state. That means the mind, it doesn't mean the ordinary sound sleep state, but sleeping in awake state. That means the mind in the awake state gradually withdraws its concentration from the body and the universe and the world and focuses it on some divine theme. So that is mind's concentration, sound sleep state. Mind's advancement is the dream state, the divine dream state, Turiya Avastha, whatever you call it. And mind stopping is the awakening state or the final state, which is point number 5.
This must happen in ordinary awake state. હવે મન ચાલે છે એટલે સંસ્કાર. Imagination is equal to impression. બને છે. એ સંસ્કાર ભોગવા માટે શરીર છે અને શરીર માટે દુનિયા.
So in other words, and in short, here, this must happen in ordinary awake state. Which one? The mind concentrating, the mind advancing, and the final, the mind annihilating. In a sense, every single day when we go on in a sound sleep state, our mind is not there, but the mind is not annihilated. It is there. The samskaras are there. It is only kept in abeyance. It is latent, and again it rises. Why? Because there is a content in that mind. Whereas in the final merger, there is no content in the mind. The mind is totally, completely annihilated. There is no content at all in the mind. So this must happen in ordinary awake state. Now, when mind is working, samskaras, that is impressions, are formed. Every working mind keeps on creating impressions or samskaras. Many people ask, if I do some good things, will the samskaras? Yes, of course. If I do prayers, yes, of course. If I help somebody, yes, of course. Everything that you do with the mind working from the platform of I am the doer, it binds. Period. No further discussion on that. And that is perhaps the reason why Baba has been harping on his constant companionship, his remembrance, our creating what is known as a temporary ego, which is subservient to the master, as if we have to be honest about that, as if I am not the doer. It is Baba who is getting things done through me. I do not exist. And if that happens, only then the impressions or the samskaras are not formed. Otherwise, as Baba says, when the mind is working, the samskaras and the impressions are formed. Period. Sorry? Let me. For the sake of experiencing these samskaras, body comes forth. Why do we take a birth? Because there are samskaras. The samskaras or the impressions are the building blocks of our next incarnation. And this keeps on happening. So Baba says here, for the sake of experiencing this samskara, because if the body is not there, how do you experience the samskara? And if the body is there, then obviously, see Baba say, the body comes forth, and for the sake of the body comes forth the world. In other words, world, body, mind meaning samskaras, are all coexisting. If there is no mind, there is no body, and there is no experience of the body and no experience of the world. But if there are samskaras, that means if the mind is there, the body will be there and the world will be there. In other words, because samskaras exist, the body and the world exist. Go ahead.
એટલે સંસ્કાર છે તો શરીર છે અને દુનિયા છે.
Correct.
સંસ્કાર, imagination, હું આ છું, પેલું મારું છે, હું અને મારું નહીં હોય તો શરીર અને દુનિયા. કઈ જ નહીં.
In other
એટલે-
words, because there is this I, my, me, and mine. I have done this, I am doing this, I am going to do this. In other words, if that was not there, then the dunya is not there at all. Again, Baba explains here, if there are no samskaras, which are the cause of all imaginations and assertions, like I, that is mine, I and mine, there then cannot be any body or the world. In other words, if the samskaras are not there, the body and the world will not be there. Go ahead.
એટલે શરીર અને દુનિયા ફક્ત ઇમેજિનેશન નું ક્રિએશન છે.
Baba keeps on saying the same thing, that the body and the universe is a creation of the mind, and mind itself is an illusion. So in other words, again and again, Baba is saying that all this that we experience, the good, the bad, the ugly one, it is all in the domain of illusion. It's all Maya, it's all illusion. It has no astitva or importance in itself.
કોન્સન્ટ્રેશનમાં મન સંસ્કારથી એટલે શરીરથી એટલે દુનિયાથી અલગ રહેવાની ખટપટ કરે છે. અને જ્યારે કોન્સન્ટ્રેશનની ફાઇનલ સ્ટેજ આવે છે ત્યારે સંસ્કાર એટલે શરીર દુનિયા નહીં થાય.
In other words, Baba says that this means that this we have done. This means that the body and the world are only the creation of imagination. Very nice sentence, I repeat. This means that the body and the world are only the creation of imagination. Imagination. In concentration, the mind makes great effort to remain aloof from samskaras. In other words, it tries to forget the body, tries to forget the world, otherwise it doesn't create more samskara. That is aloof from the body and the world. And when the final stage of concentration is attained, then the samskaras, which means our body and the world, becomes nothing. That means when the final concentration comes at the fag end of the journey, there is no body and there is no world.
That is vanish.
Vanish, yeah, correct.
અને ઘણો જમાનો લાગે છે, પણ
Means it takes many ages to come to that state.
પણ સદગુરુ માત્ર એક જ નજરથી સંસ્કાર ડિસ્ટ્રોય કરે છે અને સંસ્કાર નહીં એટલે મનનું સ્ટોપ થવું. કારણ સંસ્કાર છે તો મન ચાલે છે, ને સંસ્કાર નથી તો મન સ્ટોપ છે. મનનું સ્ટોપ થવું અને ચાલવું સંસ્કારના નહીં હોવા અને હોવા પર આધાર રાખે છે.
So, Baba's translation goes like this. For this to happen, many ages are required. For the complete annihilation of the mind, many ages are required. But the Sadguru, by a single nazar, can destroy all samskaras. See the potency and the importance of a Sadguru. He can do it with a single glance. And the absence of all samskaras means the stopping of the mind. When there are no samskaras, the mind is stopped. For when there are samskaras, the mind functions. And when there are no samskaras, the mind is stopped. The stopping and the functioning of the mind depends respectively upon the absence or existence of samskaras. In other words, if the samskaras are there, the mind will function. If the samskaras are not there, the mind is totally annihilated and you achieve Godhood.
ખરો અંધકાર એટલે થોભેલું મન દરેક પલે ખરા પ્રકાશનું જુઓ છે અને તે ખરા અંધકાર અસ્તિત્વ જ્યારે ચાલુ છે ત્યારે ખોટો અંધકાર મન દરેક પલે ખોટા પ્રકાશને જોઈ છે.
Real darkness, which means stopped mind. sees the real light every second. Baba talks about the real nothingness, that when the experience of God realization comes, the first step is the fana, which means the real nothing, the real vacuum state, the real darkness is experienced. And the very next moment, the real everything or the real light is experienced. That means fana, panafila, or nirvana and nirvikalpa. Baba talks, it immediately follows. And when that real darkness, which is the existence, is functioning, then the false darkness, which is the mind, sees the false light every moment. We started with this, the real light and the real darkness. The real darkness is the astitva or the existence of real light. We have done that. And then there is unreal darkness, which is the mind. And with the unreal darkness, you see the unreal light, which is the body and the universe. So same thing is now repeated in a different language. I'll repeat it. Real darkness, which means the stopped mind, sees the real light every second. And when that real darkness, which is existence, is functioning, then the false darkness, which is the mind, sees the false light every moment. The false light is the body and the universe. Because, go ahead.
હમણાં તમારું અસ્તિત્વ મનની હાલતમાં છે.
That means your existence now is in the state of mind, which means working mind.
છે કરીને શરીર અને દુનિયા જેવું જુઓ છે.
Therefore, you are able to see the body and the world.
એ જ તમારું મન
This same mind of yours,
થોભ્યું કે સ્ટોપ થાય કે
when it stops
અસ્તિત્વ બન્યું
or becomes the existence, it actually becomes the existence. Okay.
કે તેજ સેકન્ડ પ્રકાશને જુએ છે.
That very second, the mind merges with the spirit, it will see the real light. Why? Because the spirit sees the real light all the time. And now here, the mind has merged or become one with the spirit. And therefore, that particular mind, the very moment it merges, it sees the light and announces Aham Brahma. Go ahead.
કારણ આપને ઉપર કઈ ગયા કે અસ્તિત્વ દરેક સેકન્ડ પ્રકાશને જુએ છે. ખાલી પ્રકાશ તો પ્રકાશને પોતાને કેમ અનુભવે?
This is a very beautiful sentence here. See, that means, as we have already stated earlier, the existence sees the light every second. Existence being the existence of the real light, meaning the spirit here, right? How, this is a very nice sentence. How can the light by itself experience itself? The light. That means in order for the light to experience itself as light, it has to experience the exact opposite of it.
એટલે અસ્તિત્વની અંધકારની હાલતમાં જ પ્રકાશનો અનુભવ થાય.
That means only in the state of existence of darkness can light be experienced as light. We have come to the last page.
Yeah.
Oh, we are okay. Anyway,
But nothingnessની ભર ઊંઘાવાની
એક મિનિટ.
ઊંઘાવાની હાલતમાં અસ્તિત્વ પણ કોન્શિયસ નથી રહેતું.
Okay, can I suggest one thing? We are on page 38. We are stopping here because hardly now 2 minutes or more. I don't want to explain that now. We can continue from then onwards. In the meanwhile, I'll open up the session for question answers for another maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes, whatever the time is required. If you want to understand anything that we have done so far. If there are no questions, it means either everybody has understood everything, or nobody has understood anything. It's like that. Either of the two. Anybody has anything to ask? Oh, great. Acha, Bobby wants to ask
Sorry,
something.
I had a question.
Yes, Bobby.
Baba mentions here to get to this very deep state of meditation in the wake state on
Yes,
page 35.
yes, yes.
And I've not read all his books, but is there anything he has said on, he talks about a single divine subject. What is that single divine subject?
Okay, first of all, he uses the word concentration. He uses the word concentration and not meditation because he distinguishes between meditation and concentration. But that's okay. The divine subject is nothing but God Himself, I would say. And the only spontaneous, natural, sahaj way of focusing on the divine subject, which is Baba himself, would be to invite him to be our constant companion, would be to remember him all the time in whatever we do, would be to surrender to him everything that is happening throughout the day, would be to think that I am not the doer, but it is he who is doing through us. And maybe that could be the starting point of finally gradually eradicating all our samskaras. This could be the starting point, where because the agent of action, which is not I, but the agent of action is outside of me, which is Baba, then gradually over a period of time, while whatever actions that I'm doing diminishes there's a utilization of my past karma. On the other hand, there is no fresh accumulation of samskaras or impressions because the agent of action is not I. It is somebody outside of me. I consider that, okay, Baba is getting it done through me. And if I do this honestly and sincerely, perhaps over a period of time, my load of samskaras get diminished completely because on one hand, I am spending my past samskaras, on the other hand, I am not accumulating.
Right.
But these are all, according to me, very theoretical things. The best thing is to just love him in the most natural way as you would love somebody who is most lovable to you. Give him the most uh, prime place, place of pride, as you call it, pride of place, and take him to be your anybody whom you love so much, and constantly think about him, constantly keep him your wholeheartedly keep him as your constant companion, and that should do the trick. Rather than, as I said, this is maybe one of the first attempts that Baba has made in writing. There are several books also around that time, like Tiffin Talks and all that, but that doesn't contain Baba's own handwriting. But this is a very unique book where, in short, what Baba is trying to say is that God is in everyone and everything, and that God is beyond everyone and everything, and you are nobody and nothing but God. But because of the samskaras, your focus is on the body and the world. The moment the samskaras are annihilated, you realize that you always were, and you always will remain God. So basically, that is what Baba is trying to tell us. It's a very positive book in the sense makes us feel that we are nobody but God, except that samskaras are hindering us to get that viewpoint of the I am God state. Coming back straight to your question, the divine theme or the divine what you call is nothing but Baba, according to me. You can have other ways of looking at it, but I would personally feel that Baba is the mostest, if there is any such English word, divine subject to be focused on or concentrated on, and he has given it so much like on a platter. He's not asking us to sit in a certain position or gaze at his face or do this and do that. Somehow he only says that make me your constant companion. That's all, in a most natural way. All right. Anyone else? Anything else, Bobby?
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Anybody else has anything to ask? So then, do we call it a day? It's past 6:30. Is it or 6:34? Okay, then we say Jai Baba, and I would like to thank Baba that he has managed my throat. All right. Tomorrow we are going to have the second part of questions Meher Baba answered. The first part was shown on Saturday. Now Rakesh will show it tomorrow, Wednesday. I only hope that the sound quality is worked upon, because when I saw it on the Facebook, it was a very clear sound. So if Rakesh can work on that. And then on Saturday, coming Saturday, there's a lot of Diwali and all kinds of functions happening, festivity happening. So we are taking a break for that one day. So now next live would be on Tuesday, the coming Tuesday. Tomorrow it is there, the second part of the pre-recorded version. Saturday there is nothing happening from my side. Then we'll be meeting on Tuesday. Okay.
Zia,
So
I saw Jai Baba.
once again, thank you. Oh yeah, Zia has got some lights, Diwali lights.
Jai Baba.
Jia, you yourself are chunking like a light. All right. Thank you,
Jai
Baba.
Baba.
Thanks to all of you.
Thank you, Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Baki Jai.
Baba.
Avtar Meher Baba
मेहर
ki
बाबा
Jai.
की जय
Jai.
मेहर बाबा की जय
Thank you all.
Thank you, Baba. Thank you, Baba.
Thank you, everyone. Happy Diwali to everyone.
Yes,
Happy Diwali.
yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes, yes.
Happy
I forgot
Diwali.
that the old man
Happy